There was a conversation that said, when we received the World Cup here in Seattle, I want to be the first call. And Peter Tomozawa was there, present when the announcement was made. And his first call was he honored his word and he called our chairman, Bill, and said, great news, we are coming to the World Cup is coming to Seattle.
Welcome, everyone. This is Jermaine Jackson, sports producer here at Daybreak Star Radio, the only station indigenizing the airwaves. And today, I have the wonderful pleasure of speaking with the 2026 World Cup project director, Amy McFarland. We are excited to get an inside look at what they have been working on regarding the 2026 World Cup. And Amy, thank you for joining us. And how are you doing today?
Huxlahale, good day. I am Amy McFarland, and I am from the Puyallup Tribe of Indians.
Can you share what inspired the Puyallup tribe to become involved in the 2026 FIFA World Cup as an official legacy supporter?
We have been a supporter of soccer for a long time now. Great partnership with Sounders. They've done a lot of work with us, with our youth and our community. And it was just a natural match for us when the conversation came up about what would it look like to have the World Cup here. Who is currently the World Cup CEO, Peter Tomozawa, and our chairman, Bill Sterud, have become close over the years, and they were sitting and chatting. And one day the topic came up, and as I understand it, there was a conversation that said, when we received the World Cup here in Seattle, I want to be the first call. And Peter Tomozawa was there, present when the announcement was made, and his first call was he honored his word and he called our chairman Bill and said, great news, we are coming to the World Cup is coming to Seattle. And so they held up on their end of the bargain with that conversation, and that led us to negotiating what that partnership was going to look like as the first Indigenous folks to ever sponsor the World Cup, and how that would change not only our community, but the lens in which others can view Indigenous communities, not only here in the Pacific Northwest, but around the world.
So, what does this partnership mean for the Puyallup tribe, and how do you envision it impacting the community, both short term and long term?
So, what it means for us is an opportunity to share our story of who we are as Puyallup people, our culture, our language, our history, but also it gives an opportunity to share where we're at now. So, where we've been, where we're at, and where we're going. And so the short term is, an insight into our language, and long term, and the cultural aspects of who we are as people of the powwow, people of canoe, people of different backgrounds. And so we're going to give a little snapshot into the world, and that work has already started. It started last year. FIFA actually sent a crew over during the trophy tour, and they did some filming on the water as part of the canoe journey last year. And so that partnership started there, and they have been such a wonderful group of people to work with and are eager to share the story to everyone. As I've seen some of the commercials that are already coming out. So long term, it will have what we're looking at, that legacy, the legacy in various different parts, and that it's going to have impacts on sustainability for not just an environment, but language and culture and the historical aspects of things. But how do we preserve it, bring it back, and ensure that our children's children will have at it?
What is the significance of the World Cup, the 2026 World Cup, and the matches being hosted in Seattle, and how does the Puyallup tribe plan to be involved in these events?
So for all the 6 matches that will be housed there in Seattle, we will have a presence in some part of it, whether it's the fan festival, and we will have a presence there for our language, our history, our culture, and exchange for Indigenous youth games that we'll be sponsoring there right at the fan festival as well. But we'll also be inviting some of those teams to come down and share their culture with us, because these teams are coming from all over the world.
Yeah.
And why not invite them and some of their community to come have an exchange with us? And that's really going to be the power, not just what we share, but what we can share as a whole global community.
Yeah, that's gonna be wonderful, wonderful sharing your culture with all the athletes and all the people from around the whole world and them learning about the Puyallup tribe and the culture and the native culture here in the Pacific Northwest. So how do you and your team plan to balance the global scale of the World Cup with maintaining the authenticity and cultural integrity of
Mhm.
the tribe?
I think being an urban tribe, we are right in the heart of the Tacoma area, and that's how we have been born into, and there's a long history of how we became an urban tribe. But that balance of contemporary versus traditional is at the forefront of how we move forward to share those great stories of who we are, but balancing it with where we are going, which is the Puyallup Tribal Enterprises. So we're not just a tribe that exists with our school and whatnot. We also are a tribe that has a successful chocolate company. We're a tribe that has a success. We're getting ready to open up our ports. The first indigenous group to have a port,
Oh, wow.
and so what does that mean for exchange culturally on a different level, on an economic level, as well as graphics and containers and new battery operation kind of innovations. And so it's not just a history piece, it's where we are there, contextually where we are now, and where are we going, and what is that going to have impacts for our children. At the same time, we take care of our language and we preserve it. And so it's that fine line, I think, that a lot of nations are juggling. But in order to preserve those very essential parts of who we are as Native people, we have to make sure that we're also creating that sustainability in all those other areas.
So what are some of the most exciting cultural elements that the tribe will be sharing with the world during the World Cup?
Our songs and our dances at the forefront of that, and not only sharing what is natural for us here in Puyallup, but what does that look like for the Salish Sea, and that means regalia, so and preparing regalia from the wool to spinning it to putting it on the looms and putting it together with experts who have been doing weaving for years and years and years, and just come from a family of weavers. So from the regalia to the songs, the dances, the language, all of those things we'll be sharing out. And of course, the one thing that I think all tribal groups are share in common is gifting, and what will that look like as we welcome folks in to say, we are so glad you're here. Thank you for coming.
So how do you envision the tribe's involvement in the World Cup as a way to teach younger generations about cultural pride and resilience?
Well, I think it's cultural pride is present and already there. Resilience is part of who we are as Native people. We wake up that way, and we have that alternate part in our DNA that says that we have to be fighters, and we have to be articulate and be able to survive. And that's in our ancestors. That's in who we are. And those are stories that are told. We wouldn't be here as a Puyallup tribe if it weren't for all the elders who fought for where we're at now. And so that's a story that's already shared. I think that's in who they are. And I think that the cultural aspect comes along with that. But I'd like to touch a little bit on the youth aspect of that. And so for us, the youth will be involved in lots of different parts of that. As I said, we'll be hosting a youth Indigenous Games in the Seattle area, but also during our powwow, we'll be hosting a youth soccer tournament. And excited about that. And as I understand it, there may be an opportunity for a Children's World Cup hosting next May too, which we will have the opportunity to be a part of and to help plan and be the central part too. So they are our future, and that's something that we don't forget. We don't forget that we have to lean into that. And many of our youth are ready. They speak the language much better than some of the adults because of the efforts of those that have come before us to ensure that that's the way it is.
So, lastly, what are some of the key milestones that the tribe's World Cup team is working toward as we approach the 2026 event?
The MMIW,
Hmm.
and bringing attention to the world about that. Human trafficking is an issue no matter where you're at. And for us on every reservation, we struggle with the MMIW, and where's that promotion and creating an awareness around that. So that is one of the aspects that we are working towards in terms of how do we share that particular story, and how do we gain support globally so that we can help shift that, help make a difference in that particular area. The aspects of clean water, and having water and taking care of our environment, sustainability around growing and having your own foods.
Yeah.
And being able to not only can but dry and do things in a traditional form. And so those aspects are moving in lots of different directions.
That is
So
wonderful.
lots of moving parts. Lots of moving
Yeah.
parts.
When we go to competition powwow or hoop dance championship, that we're not there to compete. We're dance to kind of inspire ourselves, inspire other people to kind of see that connection. Dance is kind of just as powerful as storytelling. When we talk about traditional dance, even in ceremony, we talk about how we're connected to everything.